Hey, what's up again, Internet? This is James Cooper, and you're watching Relative Motion, the channel where I show you the most interesting places on the planet and the best means for you to get there. So this is the second episode on the first season of Relative Motion, and we're going to be featuring the XE285, which I really believe is the most practical single-person helicopter there is. And it's definitely the most realistic, budget-friendly option for a helicopter that exists today. It does only seat one person, and does sound like a lawnmower. However, in this episode, I'm going to show you why this helicopter is one of the coolest rides on the planet. So let's launch that intro. So the XE285, I think, is really going to be the best all-around option if you're looking for a budget-friendly helicopter that will only work for yourself. So the XE285 is probably the most popular model that Mosquito Helicopters makes. Mosquito Helicopter is probably the largest manufacturer of single-seat helicopters in the world. So for a rare market, this is the most popular one in its class, largely because of its popularity and success. So if you've realized you really can't beat the entrance a helicopter will make, or if you really want to step your game up from just showing up to the club in a regular old sports car, people probably won't realize the fact that this helicopter is really going to be about as much money as owning a nice sports car. However, like I said in the last video, you're going to need to spend about $10,000 to $15,000 to get a helicopter license, but you really should have to fly this thing around. However, once you have that, I truly believe, like I said earlier, this is going to be about as much as a sports car, and let me show you why. To purchase an XE285, you're going to be looking at somewhere around 40 to 60K, depending on whether it's new or used, and that is definitely more affordable than most sports cars nowadays. Then this helicopter gets about 12 miles per gallon, and this engine is a two-stroke like most Mosquito helicopters, so it will use oil with that gas, but 12 miles per gallon is pretty close to what you get messing around in most sports cars. And then this thing will cruise at 80 miles an hour and has a top speed of 95, which obviously some cars are going to go faster than that, but that's definitely enough to equal what you can do legally on any road. And that's not even including the fact that you're going to go much faster anyways, because you can go in a complete straight line in a helicopter instead of having to follow the road. And then last, this thing has a pretty incredible range for its size if you use the extra tank of 264 miles. And this, amazingly, is pretty on point with the larger helicopters in its class. However, the one potential downside of this helicopter worth considering is that because it's a two-stroke, you're going to have to somehow carry oil with you if you want to continuously refuel with this, because it's highly likely where you're landing to refill, they will not have that oil readily available for your helicopter. And this can be a little problematic since space is really limited in this helicopter, considering one person barely fits. Even though this is a two-stroke engine, it is very good for a two-stroke. It's made by Intech and has a lot of features you'd find on a modern engine. It's oil and fuel injected, it's water cooled, and it's actually oversized for its application. They derate the engine so it'll never have to run at full power, which is going to make a two-stroke engine a little more reliable, which is definitely good in an aircraft since two-strokes can be known to be unreliable to begin with. So when you derate an engine in an application like this, it just really doesn't have to work as hard. So the really awesome thing about this helicopter and the Mosquito Helicopter Company is that this helicopter comes with a lot of amenities that you wouldn't usually find in smaller aircraft like this. So basically the way I would kind of spec one of these out is first off get the door option that's available. This is going to make for a more comfortable ride because the rotor wash and all the air is not going to be blowing past you, and it's also going to be much quieter. And then the other definitely essential accessory, which is the cool part about Mosquito's larger helicopters, is they have an option to add either an additional fuel tank or a tiny cargo compartment directly under the seat, as you can see in this picture. Now personally, I'd probably go with the cargo compartment, I guess simply for a few reasons. One is, if you really wanted to, you could throw a small fuel tank in there anyways to increase your range slightly if you really had to. Second, like I mentioned earlier, this would be an ideal place to carry oil with you if you were planning to make a long trip across the country or something like that. because like I mentioned, it's going to be really hard to find that oil. At most places you would land with this helicopter. And then last and most obvious is it would be nice to have the ability to carry a little bit of cargo with you in this helicopter. I think it would make it a little more practical. And this would be a great spot to stash a backpack or any gear you want to carry with you. And it's still, even without the external tank, going to give you a range of about 160 miles, which isn't great, but I still think is practical enough, all things considered, with what this helicopter actually is, to use it pretty well. So this helicopter is really the best budget option if you just have to have a helicopter. And you want one that's actually fairly practical, even though this one definitely has some limitations still. Or, on another note, if you really want to take it to the next level, because of this helicopter's small size, it would actually fit potentially in some larger jets' cargo compartments. So if you got that Illuminati level wealth and you're flying around in your own private Boeing jet and decide to travel across the world or wherever you land with your magnificent jet, you can pull the helicopter out and then fly to your actual destination and never have to travel on the ground like those meager people below you stuck in their cars. So that's it, everybody. If you're looking for a helicopter just for yourself, it's really hard to beat this one. So hopefully you think this thing's as cool as I do. So check out the next episode in this season of the best piston helicopters, or we're going to check out the Robinson R22, the first actual full-blown helicopter on this list that's not an ultralight or a light sport. So this means this helicopter is going to be able to seat another person, and in general is going to be a little more safe because of its widespread use in production. So be sure to check that episode out. And until next time, I'm James Cooper, and you've been watching Relative Motion.